And we are live. Hello there, fellow citizens of the internet. My name is Moses, and welcome to the Moses Kabandana podcast. The idea for this podcast is for me to bring on some friends, families, random people that I just met, and just have real life conversations about random topics. Now, because I do not have a guest for this particular episode, I'm gonna give you an introduction of who I am and a little bit of a journey of my life. So, I was born in Rwanda. I grew up in Mozambique, and up until the age of 15, before I came into the United States. When I came to the United States, I was 15, almost 16, and I've been in the United States for 11 years. It's going on 12 years as of October 9th of 2021. I now live in Los Angeles. I've been here for about 2.5 years. And I am starting a podcast because why not? Why not start a podcast in 2021? Why do I have these headphones in? I don't know. So a quick history of me. So I was born in 1994 in Rwanda. If for those that do not know about Rwanda, it was the same year that the Rwandan genocide started. So my family just, scattered throughout the continent. And my immediate family, me, my brother, my sister, my mom, and my dad, mother and father, we migrated from Rwanda, made our way all the way to Mozambique, passing through Congo, Tanzania, and again ending up in Mozambique. So it was in Mozambique where both my biological father and biological mother passed away. That was probably in the early 2000s. My timeline is so messed up because the memories that I have of these early stages of my life are so jumbled up. But I do remember that my mother passed away first. And then I believe a couple years later, my father passed away as well. Sadly, I'd never kept any documents. I don't have any. I think I had like a picture or two. I do have a picture of my biological mother, and I had a picture of my biological mom and dad when they were together, but I don't know where that picture went. So a lot of this happened when I was, I want to say between like 6 and 8, 5 and 8. So I had no concept of even like having these documents or like saving these documents. It was just photographs that I think by the time I was like 11 or 12, I was like, oh, these things, maybe we should save them. But we never really got the privilege to save them. So when my mom passed away, my siblings and I were put into an orphanage, several orphanages, I think 3 all together. But at this point we had no concept of or like no idea where the extended family was, aunts, uncles, and whatnot, on my mother's side or my dad's side. So for all we knew, as a direct result of the war, probably they had like passed away or killed or something. I just never really, I was not old enough to even like ask those questions, and by the time I could ask those questions, my biological parents were not there anymore. So went through 3 orphanages. The first one, we just stayed there for like, I felt like a few months, but when you're a kid, I don't know, time is a little bit different, I think. I don't know. I do remember a lot of stories in that orphanage, crazy stories, but those stories will come in due time. And then went to the second orphanage. I spent the most time at this one. Me, both my siblings, brother and sister. A lot more stories happened at this orphanage. Crazy times. Some of the stories, when I do remember them, I'm like, how how did I live through that? But I would not change a single thing about my experience in those times. The city that I was in Mozambique, the state was called Maputo, and I was in the city called Costa do Sol, and that's where I learned, Portuguese and Mashangan. So I basically learned Swahili and Kinyarwanda when I was little because that is the native language of my parents. And the refugee camp that we were in, I got to speak these languages with kids. Like if you want to play around with kids, and you do not speak their languages, it's quite hard to do that. So, but then once they had passed away, I completely forgot Swahili and Kinyarwanda, so I learned Mashangan and Portuguese, because that is the language that was used in these orphanages, and it's the native language of Maputo and Mozambique. Portuguese being the native language of not native language but national language of Mozambique, and Mashangan is more specific, is a dialect of Maputo. So now we're at the second orphanage. Like I said, there's a lot of things that happened in this orphanage. Tons of stories, crazy stories, funny, sad, embarrassing. And then we, after this orphanage, we went to a third one. Now at this third orphanage, it was just me and my older brother. My sister was sent to an all girls orphanage, and my brother and I were sent to an all boys orphanage. My brother stayed at this one for a brief period. I want to say like maybe 6 months, I think maybe like 2-3 months. I don't know. It seemed like a very short period of time, and it was more. This orphanage was a lot more like relaxed in comparison to the previous one. The previous one, it was almost like a free for all type, to where this one was more organized. You had a lot more of your basic necessities of life, to where the first one was, well, not that. So my brother was sent away to a refugee camp, and I stayed at the all boys orphanage, where my sister was at an all girls refugee camp. Orphanage. And then after a year, I'm about 11 years old by now. And then after about a year of us being like pretty much all three separate, my sister and I were sent to go visit where my brother was at. And like I said, we hadn't seen him in a year, and so he had found this this other family that he was staying with. Great family. They're like my family now. More on that to come in future episodes. But we stayed at this refugee camp where my brother was at. And we just loved it. We loved it over there. That we at the end of that, I think it was like I want to say like a 2-month long stay, and we were just like, hey, we wanna stay here, right? We wanna stay here, and it did not make any sense at all to the person or organization that was like dealing with us, because the orphanages that my sister and I were at, we had all basic necessities of life, and then some. Right, I had 3 meals a day, like electricity, just good stuff. Right, no issues at all. Nice place to sleep, like fresh milk from a cow every morning, So I'm like, everything was great. But in contrast to that, the refugee camp had pretty much not a lot. Right, I think you got once a month there was a distribution of food, and you kind of had to manage that food for the rest of the month. No electricity, no running water, like nothing at all. But when we went to visit, something just, I don't know, maybe it was like the social aspect of it. I got exposed to Swahili and Kinyarwanda again, because like I remember hearing it and I'm like, yo, this I feel like I've spoken this before. And my sister picked it up so fast, and my brother had already accustomed to the culture, the languages and everything. He had already regained all the languages that he had forgotten. So I think I want to say that it was the atmosphere, and being around people that are from other countries speaking different languages and whatnot. We completely did not take into account that whole, oh, you have no running water, you have no electricity. So for those that heard that we wanted to move there, this did not make any sense. And it's not like we were too young. I was 11, 12 years old by now. So it's like you're young enough to oversee, the importance of having like all these basic necessities of life, but also you are so. I feel like from my perspective, I was connecting with all these different people, and just the experience was just something. I don't really know how to explain it, because from a logical perspective, it's like, no, go to a place where you have food, you have electricity, you got everything, and it's not like we just stayed there for a day or two, or like maybe a week, and we were just enamored by it. No, we stayed for like a couple months, and we still decided to stay there. So long story short, we do end up moving. They allow us to move to this orphanage camp, refugee camp, which was in a completely different state, right? So now we're staying with my brother and the family that he had been staying with. So it's now one big gigantic family. No issues whatsoever. We all became siblings, and I think it was at that point that the process of starting to come to the United States as refugees started. So I don't know all the intricate details that went into that, but I do remember getting interviewed as a family, all 6 of us. What is it? 3, okay, 4, 7, all 7 of us. So my 2 siblings and the other family, which is comprised of a mom and 3 kids. 3 kids, right? Yeah. Mom and 3 kids, who are pretty much like my second mom, and like the rest, like my 3 other siblings. It's like it's a whole family at this point. Just the idea of living a different life without them just did not really make any sense, or away from them. So I'm gonna spare you the details of coming to the States, but after going through the interviews and everything, getting vaccinated, making sure that we're good to come to the States, we came. And my sister and I were placed in a foster home with a beautiful family. We're still in contact today. Just love them. I'm not gonna drop any names right now, but I'm pretty sure. I am pretty sure. I'm speaking kind of fast. I need to slow down. I am pretty sure that the stories will come out in future episodes as well. And then I think about, we stayed with this family. I'm skipping out a lot of details, right? We stayed with this family for 2 years, and then we went to a different foster home. Amazing people too, and we still like all these have become extended families. To me and my siblings as well. So from that perspective, I have been a very lucky individual. So yeah, and then so I went through high school in Michigan, went through college in Michigan as well. Like I said, future episodes will include more details as far as my experience, what it was like to come into the States for the first time, and like all that is going to come in future episodes. This is more of like an introductory one, so that if those that may not know that much about me can get a little glimpse into my life, and so that when I bring in friends and whatnot, you kind of know who I already am, so that I don't have to introduce myself every single episode. So finished college, and I started to get into this whole travel thingy. Like even throughout college, I love to travel. So I started traveling a lot, and towards the end of my college career, I started to get this itch to travel a lot. So I ended up in Los Angeles. There's a lot of details in between college and Los Angeles, but future episodes. And so yeah, I ended up in Los Angeles for one semester, and I loved it. And I left my car here after the semester because I had the plan to drive back east. Right, I had the plan to drive back east because I love driving anyways, and I had driven from Michigan all the way to Los Angeles. So I left my car here so that I would have to come back to get it. Worst case scenario, drive back. So after that semester, I went to a 2-week trip in Europe to visit some friends and some family, and I got a 1-way ticket to LA. But instead of driving back, I just decided to stay. So I remember hitting up a friend when I got to the airport. I'm like, hey, do you happen to have an extra couch? Right? Do you happen to have an extra couch? And he had an extra couch, so I stayed with him for a week and a half, and then I stayed in my car for another week and a half or two. Although I had already hit up a friend, and I was like, hey, I am in need of a place to stay. Here is the importance of having good relationships and keeping in touch with people, because you never know. People, like, if you're good to people and people are good to you, well, if you're good to people, people are more likely to be good to you, unless you give them an excuse to not be good to you. So they were like, yeah, of course, come on in. But I was too stubborn to just go, so I stayed in my car for 2 weeks or a week and a half. If you're watching this, Gina and why am I forgetting their names? Seriously, Gina Ferguson, and am I supposed to be dropping names? Maybe not. And Luke, how can I forget that? They opened up their 1-bedroom studio. No, not even a 1-bedroom, just a studio apartment. And I was like, yo, thank you so much. And I stayed there for 4 months. I actually stayed with them for 4 months. Yo, you guys are the real MVPs. For 4 months, and I basically like slept on the floor. I had like some cardboard boxes or like some little thingies. I don't remember, like a yoga mat that I was sleeping on, and I was just working my butt off. Right, I was Ubering like crazy, like 10 hours a day, and I had a photography job. And that was I did that for the duration of the time that I was there, so 4.5 months, maybe 5 months. And even at the time, I still refused to get like a nice sleeping bag or like a couch, right? Not a couch. I always confuse a couch and a mattress. I don't know why, but I refused to get a mattress. And I think it was towards the end of that 4th month where I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a mattress, but I'm too cheap, because I was going through a financial restructuring of habits, right? As far as like how I spend my money, what to spend my money on, and I had so much credit card debt, and it was just a complete chaos. So I was reading a lot of books on finances, and listening to a lot of audiobooks, because I'm not really the type to read a lot. So I was learning all these techniques about saving and attacking your debt. So I was just too focused on saving money and getting rid of credit card, that I was not even willing to get a mattress, although that would have helped a lot with my back pain. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna meet you halfway, and I'm talking to myself. And the halfway was, let's get a couch. Let's get a mattress, but that mattress is not going to be expensive whatsoever. So let's go to Craigslist. And I went to Craigslist, and I found me a free couch. Why do I say couch? Mattress. I found a free mattress on Craigslist. I should have not gotten that couch. Oh my goodness. Wow, I need help. I should have not gotten that mattress, but having slept on such, well, not so ideal conditions, surfaces, that mattress felt so good. So good when I picked it up. When I touched it, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. So it's going to be a nice break for my back. So I got the free mattress from Craigslist, and I slept on it for a year. Yes, an entire year went by sleeping on that one. I moved from Luke and Gina's place. Got my own place with 4 other strangers. Lots of stories in that. And I stayed on that couch. I stayed on that mattress for a year and a half maybe. Yeah, because I moved in July of 2019, and I got this mattress here. When did I get this? Maybe like August, September, maybe August. Yeah, August of 2020. So, a year, a little over a year that I stayed on that free mattress, but it worked. It was just like twin XL. Yeah, a twin XL mattress that I stayed on. And then, every year after college, I decided to do something new as far as like profession goes, right? Because although I love to travel, I also, I gotta make some money. So I had paid off all my credit cards within like a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And I still had some college debt. I still got some college debt, but I had still had to pay like $3,000 or something that I still owed to the college. I need to turn off these notifications. I still had like $3,000 that I had to pay off to the college. I was just busting my butt off to pay that off. So after that, after grinding on Uber and whatnot, as far as like, making money, that was the majority of 2019. I got this nice gig as is it PVC? It's CVT, for a Google project that they contracted out for, and that lasted 4 months. It was good income. I did not have to put too much effort into it. But at this point financially, I was chilling. I was good. I had built a good habit financially of saving up and making sure that I have a nice like 3 to 6 months worth of buffer time as far as like my bills. And then so in 2020, I decided to jump into acting. Why? I don't know. Well, okay, I do know. I got into a bet. It's a whole story. There's a whole story on that too. I got into a bet. I lost. JJ, if you're watching this, I'm not looking forward to losing that bet or the consequences that come with losing that bet. Did some acting, which turned out to be great. In fact, I'm still doing it. But not actively looking for gigs. Yesterday we shot a small commercial for, I don't think I can like disclose anything yet. Not that it's not like that huge of a deal. Like I got paid like $200, but I'm acting. So there is that. Doing some acting, and then this year though I decided to continue. Well, I decided to really pick up on YouTube, right? I did a lot of YouTube, a decent amount of YouTube in late high school and early college, and I started to get paid on the content that I was creating. I was making reviews of phones and how-to tutorials, like how to diagnose like your microphone problem, or like review a new phone, or review a new laptop, or a computer monitor, and I was just too dumb. I was too dumb to put 1 and 2 together, right? I could have just looked at the fact that, hey, you are creating videos that have evident value, right, to to the right audience, excuse me, and you are being compensated for that. So hey, maybe you should continue to do that. I was a little too dumb for that, and I stopped creating content. There's a lot of stories in between too. There's a lot of reasons why I kind of like stepped away from it. Not for the content creation sake itself. It's not like it was like too much work or anything like that, or that it got like too heavy. It was just other circumstances that were like outside of that. But yeah, I was just too dumb to continue creating videos, because I still would have been able to continue making YouTube videos. But yeah, this year I'm like, okay, hey, let's dedicate our time, because again, remember, I have built, I think it's been about a year and a half now, where a year where I have a solid structure on how much I need monthly, and really live below those means. And when I have a job, I calculate, okay, I'm gonna work for this period to be able to cover 3 to 6 months worth of my bills, and then we're gonna chill. Is that a good strategy? Probably not. The idea would probably be to continue to work and save up for, like, I don't know, maybe like a whole year worth of bills paid for. But for now, 6 months at a time, 3 to 6 months at a time. This time has been 6 months. Saved up for 6 months, but I also have student loans. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should like pay off all the student loans. But student loan payments are at a pause right now. So I'm like, okay, we got 6 months. Let's dive back into YouTube. Try to produce as much good, informative content as we can, and see what happens in 6 months, right? And in the midst of that, I feel like my chair is falling. In the midst of that, I was like, hey, why don't we start a podcast where you just sit down, bring in some friends, bring in strangers, bring in some family that are willing to talk, and create a platform where conversations can be had, right? It doesn't have to be argumentative. It does not have to be a particular topic. It's just, hey, it's me and it's someone else. They have their opinions. I have my own. And this is a platform where debates can be had, good conversations, bad conversations. Oh my goodness, my nail. I don't know if you can see that. My nail is really long. My thumbnail on my left hand, for those that are listening. I got sidetracked. But yeah, that is the point of this podcast. I will try to air one episode a week. And I have lined up about 2 months worth of content, or people that I know that have agreed to be part of my podcast, and they can, if I interview each and one of those people, not interview, but if I make a podcast episode with each one of those people, it should last about 2 months, and I doubt that in 2 months I will not find like an extra month worth of people that are willing to come onto the podcast. And when I do not have people that are willing to come onto the podcast, that is when I will step in and dedicate an entire episode to story time. So for now, you can find my podcast on Spotify. You can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts. I'm trying to get my podcast on like other platforms, but for now those are the two. But for now, those are the two podcasts that I have. It's really interesting doing a podcast like this because everything is on the fly. I'm so used to shooting the tech videos where if I say something wrong or if I mispronounce something, I can pause and go back, and say it the right way, and then I can like change everything in the editing. But no, everything here is just live, and like we're going on 30 minutes worth of me rambling on and on. But yeah, you can find my podcast on Spotify. You can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, and all this is all the podcast is made possible through Anchor, right? It is a platform where you can create a podcast, and it is free, first and foremost, and you can make as long of a podcast as you want, and they publish your content on all kinds of different platforms, pretty much any platform that allows podcasts, like Google Podcasts. I'm trying to get this podcast on Google Podcasts as well. And just a quick note, you may have noticed that my accent may change or something, or like shift around. I don't have a particular accent. It's just, I do have an accent, because like when I meet someone at a store and I'm talking to them, or out in public, the first question that I ask is, where? It stopped recording. Oh my goodness. For those that are listening, I was recording a video and it cut off at some point, and that is not good. Okay. So I just, the first thing that people say is, hey, where are you from? You've got a little bit of an accent. But I have a Frankenstein accent. That's what I call it, because of, I feel like you get your accent based on the different languages that you speak. And I have learned, spoken, and forgotten a total of six or seven languages. So my accent is like a conglomeration, if that is a word. That is a word. I don't know if I'm using it in the right term though. It's just all these accents put together. So it may shift once in a while. So don't be like, oh my goodness, he's trying to make an accent, or like he's trying no, that's not it. It's just I'm yapping. I'm just speaking. And some accents come out. Some accents don't. I often do not have control over the shift in the accents. So with that being said, tune in every week. That is, why am I saying every week? Like I have like all kinds of plans for this. Every week I will try to make an episode. And it's gonna be, like I said, if you are already on Spotify, please subscribe to this podcast so that you can be notified whenever I upload one or two. And if you are on Apple Podcasts, please do so as well. I am going to try to have this podcast on other platforms. But that is it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next episode. Peace.